This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials. All right, hello and welcome. Let's go ahead and open up that waiting room as Daily with Doc. And it's Pharmacist Ben Friday, as we're going to be talking today and answering your questions. So I'm super excited to have you all here. So welcome, 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 welcome for those who are live with us in the audience. If you have questions for Pharmacist Ben, make sure that you raise your hand early, as we're going to be trying to get through all of the questions that we absolutely possibly can, as he's promised to give short answers, although thorough. And we want to make sure that we are meeting people where they're at and answering the questions that you have. My name is Becca Dukes. I'm a certified naturopathic practitioner and a certified holistic health coach and the director of student services for the Institute of Holistic Health. And I am excited and honored to be able to bring information that is empowering to you. We are a resource for an amazing community. So folks, if you were referred to this program by somebody specific, make sure that you get back with them. There's no one to thank. Call team is 855-949-3377. Again, that's 855-949-3377. And that is for people who have not heard about anything that we talk about on this show. We're not referred to this program by somebody else. So, folks, without further ado, it is my honor and privilege, and I told him I'd make it short, to introduce to you the one and only, the man who is just so enthusiastic and believes so heartedly in the power of nutrition, Pharmacist Ben Fuchs. Hello, Pharmacist Ben. How are you today?
Good, Rebecca. Thank you so much for that, and thanks for the concise and succinct introduction. Great.
You are very, very welcome.
That way we can talk to more people, because that's what it's all about, right?
Oh, absolutely. We want to talk to more people because that is absolutely why we're here. That is our purpose, to help people get the answers that they're looking for. So again, folks, if you're here live with us, get your hand raised, as we're going to be going through questions today. Now, Pharmacist Ben, did you have anything real quick that you wanted to talk about?
I ran this, be real quick, but I ran into this article last week or earlier, actually a couple of days ago. And I thought it was really cool about cancer. Would you put that up, AJ, when you have a chance? You know, we always talk about how chronic degenerative disease is reversible. And that's really important that everybody understands this. No cure here, reversible. Body goes this way, it can go that way. Body can turn on a dime if we turn on a dime first. And so that's really important to recognize. But cancer is a little bit different in the sense that there's a genetic switch that's turned on with cancer. Nonetheless, cancers come and go, and spontaneous regressions or spontaneous remissions happen. And if it can happen in one person, it can happen to anybody. But as this article kind of, can you pull it down just a little bit, AJ? The article mentions is that a lot of times the cancer comes back after it regresses. What does that tell us? That tells us that we haven't changed what we're doing that causes the cancer. So the idea that cancer is genetic is long gone. Nope, that's not, I mean, just to say hereditary is long gone. Everything's genetic. And by the way, genetic is not the same as hereditary, even though we lump those two ideas together. Everything's genetic in the sense that it comes from your genes. Heredity is the idea that things get passed on from your parents, your grandparents, etc. Those may predispose you to certain things, but they don't condemn you. So cancers come and go. The body has an ability to clear cancers out. And if somebody does have cancer, or if you know, that's not a reason to lose hope, to just pack up your bags and say, that's it, I got cancer. It's an opportunity to change your life in the sense that cancer is caused by duress, cellular duress, which is always the same: toxicity, malnutrition, and hypoxia. Those are the three causes of cellular duress. And so cancer is an opportunity to change whatever you're doing that's causing that cellular duress: nutrition, oxygenation, and toxicity. Sugar counts as toxicity. And there's also emotional toxicity that activates hormones, stress hormones, that can be involved as well. So if you know somebody who has cancer, if you have cancer, that's just an opportunity to pound the body with nutrition, to oxygenate, even if to the point of going through hyperbaric oxygen chambers, to eliminate toxicity, which includes sugar and also to a certain extent calories, and then also work on the mind or spiritual or emotional aspects of the duress that causes the cancer. So I thought that's another one. Did I send that to you, or did you get that? I was going to send that one to you too, AJ. Did I send that to you? I didn't know.
Oh yeah, we talked about it. That was one
Yes.
that.
Yes, first line right here. No longer viewed as a genetic disease. Again, no longer viewed solely as a genetic disease. Cancer is increasingly understood as a condition influenced by modifiable lifestyle factors. And if he was this gentleman, whoever Tyler Durden, this guy if he was ever on one of our calls, he would know that modifiable lifestyle factors means oxygenation, nutrition, elimination of toxicity, as well as mind, my body, the whole my body aspect. And then, of course, look, he lists things here: obesity, poor diet, physical activity. These are all the reasons why we get cancer, why cells turn carcinogenic. And I don't want to go into the mechanism. It's a fascinating mechanism. But if you understand how a cell goes from being a good cell to a bad cell, or a eukaryote to a prokaryote, you know what we're talking about here. We've talked about that in the past. So I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but that's what I wanted to bring up. Thank you. And let's take some questions.
So, Pharmacist Ben, that brings hope.
Yes, that's the whole point. That's the whole point of everything we're doing here. People need to understand that there is hope in the sense that the body can change, and we're not being told that. There's no drug on the planet, none. And that's why I want a doctor to come on these calls, or somebody who works with, who could take that position, because I know everybody's agreeing with me. I want everybody to understand this. Your relatives who aren't on this call, your medical professionals. There's no drug that can help you. They can only change your metric with drugs. It doesn't work. There's no pharmaceutical strategy that will reverse a chronic degenerative disease or cancer. It's so important that we recognize it. But with nutrition, with oxygenation, with removal of toxicity, with mind-body or mind-emotion or spiritual body, SMEP, spiritual, mental, and emotional strategies, anything's reversed eventually.
I love that word. Anything. That is absolutely fantastic.
Now, sometimes I'll get a cough. I get calls all the time, believe it or not, from people who say, "Oh, I got a week. My dad's been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, pancreatic cancer, and lymphatic cancer, or liver cancer, and it's in the lymphatic system, and they're giving him a week to live. What can I take?" Well, obviously, it's not going to work that way. So you got to catch it. Ideally, prevent it, but you got to catch things early enough that your body has time to do the reverse. Given enough time, you catch whatever you're dealing with early enough, everything's reversed. Yes.
All right. And just a quick little note, folks, this is for educational purposes, and it is not meant to take the place of your primary care physician, which he has to. But folks, your body can do some amazing things. So we want to make sure that you understand that you as an empowered individual can take control of what's going into your body. And tell me again what SMETS is.
Spiritual, mental, emotional, physical.
There you go. Well, Pharmacist Ben, first question.
Yes.
Was coming from Deborah, one of our health coaches. She's wanting to know, what can we do to naturally address migraine headaches
Okay.
and vertigo?
And vertigo. Okay. So migraine headaches are the end result of changes in the way blood vessels open and close. Anybody gets a migraine knows that first they'll get this pounding sensation. They'll get a prodrome, they call it, like a feeling that something's happening, and then they'll get a pounding sensation. That's the end result of blood vessels opening and closing. Blood vessels open and close in response to what? Dirty blood. It's the only thing that can cause a blood vessel to open and close. And again, I don't want this to be me asserting it. I don't want to assert anything. I want you to understand it. Blood vessels opening and closing logically, you don't have to be a doctor, you don't have to be a medical professional, scientist, technologist, anything like that. Blood vessels can only open and close secondary to what's happening inside blood. Period. That's not a guess. That's not a theory. That is literally logical fluid dynamics or hemodynamics that gets the blood. Stuff gets in the blood, reactions occur. So then the question is, what gets into the blood? Well, anybody who has migraine headaches knows that it's going to be linked to a couple of things. One, specific foods, and two, hormonal fluctuations, particularly estrogen. And so people who get migraines will often get migraines at certain times of the month. Women especially are more prone to so migraines happen way more in women than men. And track your migraines to your menstrual cycle, your hormonal fluctuations associated with your cycle, you're a woman, and foods. And then you start doing the food elimination, and then you start to stabilize your hormones. And now hormones are a little bit trickier. So with estrogen, there's a couple of things you can do. Foods are easy. Food diary, eliminate foods, work on the digestive system. Longevity excels in digestive products or digestive supplements. There's tons of them. Hormones are a little trickier. Usually estrogen is the culprit. Now, I don't want to get into too much of a digression, but it's really, really, really important to understand estrogen, especially in our culture where we think that it's somehow this miracle hormone of youth, which it's absolutely not. Back in pharmacy school, we used to call estrogen, I don't want to say a bad word here, but that's what we used to call it. We used to call it the crap show hormone. You can fill it in. That's what we used to call it, because it is. It wreaks havoc on the body. Why? Because it's extremely, extremely, extremely potent. In fact, it's the most potent of all the steroid hormones: testosterone, progesterone, DHEA, androstenedione, cortisol. It's the most potent by far of all the steroid hormones. And one of its main job is to make things happen. It's a rev you up. Its real job is to make a baby, but it revs things up. And one of the things it does, it creates changes in vascularity. Now, to compound the problem, it's not just estrogen that's the issue. It's the metabolite of estrogen or metabolites of estrogen. That is the breakdown products. Estrogen is broken down for elimination through the bowels in 2 steps. And as it turns out, the first step creates super estrogen. Estrogen is already dynamic and powerful, but when the body's clearing it out, the first step in estrogen detoxification is super estrogen, which is not a problem if you're healthy, because then it goes into the second step and it gets eliminated. But if you're not properly going through all the steps, that first step starts to accumulate. That first step is called, the molecule that's formed in the first step is called catechol estrogen. Catechol, C-A-T-E-C-H-O-L, is like that. It's a chemical shape, chemical structure that has super amplifying properties. It speeds things up. That speed itself is a type of catechol. So catechol attached to estrogen makes it super estrogen. Estrogen already is a rev you up hormone. You stick a catechol on there, now you got a super estrogen. And that's the real problem. Why do catechol estrogens build up? Because of liver issues. Preventing the second stage in detox is called phase 2 detoxification kicking in. Digestive issues, including dysbiosis. Now, where is the liver in the digestive system again? That's the first 2 points of the triangle disease, right? Fatty liver, metabolic syndrome. digestive issues, also bile problems, gallbladder problems, because estrogen is eliminated through bile and through the gallbladder, and chronic constipation, which unfortunately, chronic constipation can be the cause, or can be caused by catechol-estrogens. So you get a vicious cycle. The catechol-estrogens cause constipation, which causes more catechol-estrogen, cause more constipation. This is where many women are. And the only way to break that cycle is to improve digestive health, particularly intestinal health. There's a group of bacteria, a complex of bacteria that form what is called the estrobolome, estrobolome, estrobolome. And the estrobolome is responsible for processing estrogen. If you're dealing with SIBO or dysbiosis, you're going to have problems clearing estrogen at that level. Gallbladder removed, sludgy bile, you're going to have a problem clearing out estrogen at that level. Metabolic syndrome, you're going to have a problem clearing out estrogen at that level. So what do? Work on the digestive system. Work on the blood sugar system. Use nutrients that help the body process estrogen. Essential fatty acids, your ultimate EFAs can help. Methylating agents like SAMe and the B vitamins. Because one of the ways estrogen gets cleared out is through methylation. So methyl agents like the B vitamins and SAMe, as I mentioned, also choline from your ultimate enzymes. So working on ways to help detoxify estrogen. There's also a couple of nutrients some women may have heard of called DIM and I3C. Those can help. Anything with sulfur can help. Your MSM sulfur, broccoli, cruciferous vegetables, ultimate MSM, as I mentioned. I think there's MSM also in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine as well. These are all ways to help clear out estrogen. Then, if you want to really go all out, one of the most important ways to balance out estrogen is to use progesterone, which is not a nutritional supplement, but it's available. And progesterone deficiency, that is much more significant than estrogen deficiency. Estrogen, and by the way, there's a myth, speaking of myths, that perimenopausal women, or perimenopause affects women before menopause, obviously perimenopause. So women will go into menopause. You don't just go right into menopause. You go into perimenopause first, where your periods are off a little bit or they're heavy. It just gets kind of weird. I don't need to tell ladies that. I don't mean to mansplain to the ladies on how that works. You know more about it than I do. But the point is, there's a myth that in perimenopause you're not making estrogen. Not true. In perimenopause, actually, your estrogen levels are higher. So when estrogen levels are higher, that can wreak havoc on the circulatory system as well as on the reproductive system. And by the way, estrogen is birth control, and estrogen in our water supply, and estrogen in plastics, xenoestrogens they call them, and birth control pills, etc., are major causes of elevated estrogen levels. Elevated estrogen levels don't only show up as circulatory problems, they can show up as hyperpigmentation, dark spots, melasma, infertility. And we have an infertility crisis, not just in this country, but around the world. There's an infertility crisis. Probably something to do with estrogen in the water, and estrogen in plastics, and estrogen in as a byproduct of industrial production of goods. Estrogen is a family of molecules. It's not just a hormone. It's an entire family of molecules found throughout nature and throughout and in industry. So we are swimming in an ocean of estrogen. All of that compounded with the fact that we have metabolic issues, liver issues, digestive issues. All of that can lead to problems with estrogen. Estrogen, by the way, is a stimulant of cancer growth. It's a rev you up hormone. So clearing out estrogen through intestinal strategies for migraine headaches, helping the body deal with estrogen at the liver level through supporting metabolic syndrome issues. And by the way, you'll notice that women who have estrogen problems oftentimes have blood sugar issues. They go together. They go hand in hand. So working on the blood sugar system is also important. Charting your migraines, so you know where in your cycle you're getting your migraines, and then also food elimination and working on digestive health. There are some nutrients that you can use that will support the circulatory system, particularly for migraine headaches. Magnesium, your osteomag, and it's no coincidence that women lose magnesium in their blood every month. So and magnesium deficiency is actually very common. The B complex, particularly riboflavin, vitamin B2, you'll find that in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. In fact, most of the longevity multiple nutrient products have lots of B vitamins. That's one of the reasons why I like them so much. Vitamin B2, riboflavin. And then the amino acid taurine sometimes can help. Taurine is more involved with the electrical system, but that can also help in addition to all these other strategies. So chart your migraines, link them to food, link them to your menstrual cycle, and then treat appropriately.
So, Pharmacist Ben, I started having migraines when I was 8 years old.
You probably had menstrual issues. You probably had estrogen issues when you were 8 years old.
Well, that I hadn't started my cycles yet.
Did you,
It was about
were you developed? Did you develop early?
No,
You did not develop early.
No.
No. So when did you
but
start?
not until I was 13 or 14, maybe.
Okay. Okay.
But you just said something in regards to food allergies,
Okay.
and it just clicked on me because I didn't realize until I was older that coconut was a migraine trigger for me. My mom loved coconut. My sister
Coconut,
loved
plain coconut did?
My dad loved coconut.
What do you mean by coconut? You mean like the fruit coconut?
Coconut, yeah, coconut flakes, coconut water, all those things. It's just recently
Anything with coconut would trigger a migraine?
Yeah.
That's
It's
interesting.
just recently within the last 10 years that I've been able to put coconut in my diet after fixing my digestion.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's an alert. Migraines are a sign that toxicity is getting in the blood, but it should be logical because migraines are blood vessels opening and closing inappropriately in the brain. How can they open and close inappropriately in the brain unless you have something in the blood that's triggering that, right? And it's just when you think about it, it's kind of logical. And that's how this should all be.
Yep, absolutely. So I love the fact that there's natural things that we can do, and I don't have to have that injection. Like, so my first one, I was in school. I had horrible migraine. It took me emergency room. I woke up 3 days after I was given an injection at the emergency room. So anyways, and then you had mentioned progesterone.
Yes. Yes.
So with all 4 of my pregnancies, I went into preterm labor at 5 months, and all 4 of them, they were giving me progesterone injections to keep the pregnancy going.
So they gave you progesterone to keep the pregnancy going?
Yeah, I was
That's
getting
interesting.
progesterone.
Progesterone is for conception. Progestation hormone.
Right.
It allows you to conceive. But estrogen is what allows you to is what keeps the baby going. Now, interestingly, sometimes estrogen can cause a stress response, and a lot of times people have miscarriages when their estrogen is high.
Interesting. Well, it was a little stressful with some of them, but anyways, got 4 bouncing baby boys, all born early, but all healthy as can be, and I'm so thankful for that. So, Pharmacist Ben, we've got another question coming in from Phyllis. Phyllis, I saw that there is a question out on YouTube. Could you please bring that to the table?
Yes. Pharmacist Ben, we have a question from Erico on YouTube, and he asks, how would you deal with long-term schizophrenia? We're talking about 15 plus years, and he wonders, is it possible to recover using nutrition?
Yes, calm the body down. Let me explain what I mean by that. First of all, schizophrenics, there's a high incidence of adverse childhood experiences with schizophrenics. So I always find it a little bit tricky to deal with mental health issues from a nutritional standpoint. So you got to address adverse childhood experience element. And I spent a lot of time working in as a psychiatric pharmacist. So I know a little bit about schizophrenia. There's usually some kind of component of adverse childhood experience trauma and such. However, that being said, sugar and insulin play a really important role. In fact, insulin used to be used as therapy for schizophrenia. They would actually give patients insulin. Why? Because that would lower the blood sugar. And so there's a major role between role for sugar and insulin in the in schizophrenic symptoms. So going ketogenic, low calorie, treating it as a blood sugar issue. I know I've told the story before, but it's really interesting. I had I used to go get a juice at the local health food store. It's called Alfalfa's here in Boulder. And I would go get juice every morning. And there was this schizophrenic guy who would always be there. And I used to talk to him, and we became buddies kind of, but he was schizophrenic. And he was, couldn't have really a lucid conversation with him, but I used to just bond with him, and I would connect with him. And he had this really funny way of talking. His name's Greg, and he had a really funny way of talking. All right, Ben. The guy talked like kind of Kermit the Frog, sort of. And we connected. He always had this big 64-ounce Coca-Cola thing, a cup of Coca-Cola that he would drink. And we would talk, and he would tell me how much he hated his medication. I didn't want to take his medication, but he knew he had to take his medication. So one day I said, Greg, I'm going to do something. We went to the salad bar, and I picked out stuff for him at the salad bar. And I picked grounding substances, eggs and beans and veggies. And I gave him to him, put a bunch of oil on it and spices, salt, pepper on it. And he ate it up. And almost in front of my eyes, I could see him starting to get clear as he was eating the salad and the eggs. And over the course of time, over the course of weeks, he eventually got off all his medication. And I would buy him a salad every morning. And he wasn't drinking his Coke anymore. He was like a new person. It was like talking to a different guy. And then I didn't go to Alpha. I took a few weeks off. I was traveling. I didn't go in, and came back about 2 or 3 weeks later. And there's Greg again, drinking his Coke, and hi, Ben, doing his schizophrenic thing. So I realized there's a major relationship between the kind of foods we're eating and our mental health issues. And so one of the things you could do for schizophrenics is keep the blood sugar stable. I'm not going to say that's a cure or anything, because there's so many mental and emotional components associated with the disease. But that being said, grounding nutrients, no candy bars and sweets. Schizophrenics love sugar. If anybody has any friends who are schizophrenics, they know they love sugar, love. So getting them off of that and using nutrients that support sugar metabolism, particularly vitamin B3, your ultimate niacin. In fact, Dr. Abram Hoffer, who's known as the father of orthomolecular medicine. Orthomolecular means good molecule, which is essentially nutritional supplementation. So he's the father of nutritional supplementation medicine, Abram Hoffer. He developed his ideas on orthomolecular medicine. This was back in the 1950s, before anybody knew about it, by treating schizophrenics with vitamin B3, niacin. And niacin is also a major player in blood sugar metabolism. Also, zinc, which is a major player in blood sugar metabolism, can be used. So get your whoever asked that question, get your patient or whatever, your client, on the ultimate zinc and the ultimate niacin. Treat the condition like it's a blood sugar problem. Go ketogenic and low calorie, and then the ultimate EFAs and osteomag. Both are particularly important for brain health.
And this is so good to hear, because they always tell us that people on psychoactive medications, they'll never get off them. It's a lifetime thing.
Not true. Not true at all.
I'm wondering if you could briefly touch on what adverse childhood events are, because there may be some people here that don't know what that refers to.
Adverse childhood trauma, adverse childhood experiences. There's a famous study called the ACEs study. I don't know, 20 or 30 years ago, adverse childhood experience study, where they linked adverse childhood experiences with autoimmune diseases, chronic diseases, and mental health problems later on in life. That's to say, child abuse, and the horrific things that kids go through. And also, it doesn't have to be full-blown child abuse. It can just be the way a kid perceives an experience, a divorce, for example. There's all kinds of things that most people here in this call probably have children, and the children are very sensitive to things. Even if they somehow don't look like they're being sensitive to something, it's affecting them on some level. And it could be something as innocent as a divorce, or it could be something as traumatic as, the horrible things that happen to children. I don't even want to talk about or think about it. And all of those count as adverse childhood experiences that can impact adult mental health and adult physical health 30, 40, 50 years down the road.
Thanks for explaining that and bringing us that wonderful news.
About getting off your meds.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
That is another ray of hope, folks. Let's go over to AJ. AJ, what question are you bringing in today?
Pharmacist Ben, it's just number one. I will see you on Monday at 9 p.m.
I have Ronnie. Yeah, 9 p.m. No, 10 p.m.
I thought I thought we were 10 p.m. this week.
She asked. Yeah, I know. She asked me to
You got back to back, Bronny.
back to back to back.
Oh
No,
wow!
Ronnie, I do David from 6 to 7, Ronnie from 7 to 8, and then AJ from 8 to 9, which is
So you saved the best for last.
best for last. Absolutely.
I like to hear it. Pharmacist Ben, what is up with zinc? This might not be the appropriate time, but you just talked about zinc. When they talk about men's stuff, they talk about zinc. What is going
Zinc
on
is
with
so
zinc?
it's just amazing. It's absolutely, absolutely mind-blowingly amazingly important. And next to magnesium, it's probably the most important mineral deficiency. It's involved in hundreds of different enzyme reactions or chemical reactions in the body. And so that means hundreds of things will go wrong when you don't have enough zinc. It's especially important for brain health, and deficiencies in zinc either if mothers are deficient in zinc when they're making a baby, or if they're deficient in zinc when they're breastfeeding, if babies don't get zinc or infants don't get zinc, it can lead to brain health problems, including retardation. So zinc is incredibly important for the brain. It's important for the skin. Taking zinc out of the diet can lead to acne. Replacing zinc is almost like a treatment for acne. Zinc plays a major role in the blood sugar system. It's important for how the body processes sugar. It's a major player in the production of proteins at the genetic level. It's important for liver health. It's important for the production of stomach acid. Major role to play in immunity. In fact, I'm pretty sure zinc was on the COVID COVID nutritional supplement list.
Don't say the word, but yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. So it's just an incredibly important and valuable supplement. It's cheap. You don't need a lot. You need about 50 milligrams a day, which is not a lot. And the more copper you're ingesting, and a lot of people are getting copper from municipal pipes, especially if you live in a city that's got old pipes. Copper leaches into the water, so excess copper can cause zinc deficiency. If you're taking copper, you should always take zinc with it, and vice versa, by the way. If you're taking zinc, you should take copper with it. So it's just an incredibly multifunctional, valuable supplement that almost everybody, if they're not supplementing, is going to be deficient in. It's found in meats and high protein foods is basically where it's found. Yes.
Have anything to do with blood flow? Because they talk about it for ED treatment.
No, that has to do with hormones. I forgot to mention, it's a major player in testosterone production. So zinc is involved in how the body processes male hormones. That's why the ED strategy is for male hormones, which is not really the cause of ED necessarily. It's more of a circulatory issue. So it's not really I mean, I'm sure it plays a role in circulatory health because there's proteins in the blood vessels and such. But really, it's because they do that because of testosterone. And that's why zinc is used as a fertility enhancer for that reason.
That's why I love Pharmacist Ben, always giving us the lowdown on the elements.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of zinc. There's a pharmacist who was, we learned about, by the way, if you could suck on zinc lozenges, it's great for sore throats. Zinc is very healing for sore throats. It's very healing in general. Zinc oxide has been used in pharmacy for years to heal burns, and I use it, and it's also sun protection also. But we learned about zinc. That's one of the things we study a lot. And there was a pharmacist who actually was so smart. I wish I thought of this. He was much smarter than me. He actually took zinc and made a cold product with it, which he sold for multi-millions of dollars to some big drug company. And I forgot what it's called, but you can get it in drugstores, and all it is zinc. And he uses it for colds. You know what I'm talking about?
You know this guy?
No, I don't know. I just saw him on TV. He was talking it, and then he sold it to some drug company for
They have Zicam, maybe.
Zicam. It's called Zicam. That's what it is. Yeah, Zicam. And all it is zinc. How clever was this guy?
We need it.
A lot smarter than I am.
Yeah, let's get AirCam going.
I don't know.
All right. Thank you, AJ, for that great question. Let's go right over to Mary. Mary, what question are you bringing to the Daily with Doc and Becca show today? Can you unmute, babe? There you go.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes. No. Stop right there.
Got it. Hey, Pharmacist Ben, how you doing?
Good. Good to see you, man.
Good. I have a few questions. Maybe we can do rapid fire, not sure, but let's see. From Repulsify from YouTube. First one is, why do my shins hurt after running?
Why do your shins hurt after running?
Yes. Any thoughts about that?
Did we talk about that?
No. Any thoughts about that?
Now, when you say the shin, the bone, what do you mean by shin?
Yeah, like
Actual bone?
I think like shin splints, or as you run, you can
Well, running
get.
running is good. There's like a pounding that happens when you run. Like you're putting stress on your leg bones and on your muscles and your tendons, on the connective tissues in the lower leg. Everything's pulling on each other. So it's probably an inflammatory condition of some kind. Running is not great for the body. You have to have the right shoes. You got to run on the right material. If you run on concrete or cement or asphalt or something like that, it can create pounding. That's an inflammatory condition. The shins seem like there's a bone there, and it's just a bone with skin on top. But there's muscles that surround it, and tendons and connective tissues. So that sounds like an inflammatory condition. Anything you can do that's anti-inflammatory. One of the best, probably the best nutritional anti-inflammatory is essential. Your ultimate EFAs, and that's another really important point. That's why docs always talk about fats. Fats control the inflammatory system. And so one of the reasons why fats or fried fats and processed fats are so problematic is because they can trigger inflammation. Fats are kind of control points for inflammation. So ultimate EFAs is what I would be using for this person. Good fats, if you will, good omega-3 and omega-6 fat, essential fatty acids. Vitamin E. Vitamin E is also important for anybody post-workout because of its anti-inflammatory properties. Vitamin E stabilizes fats. That's its main role. And then I think we probably have some. And what kind of anti-inflammatory stuff do we have for workout, for post-workout? Okay.
I know we used to have one. As far as post-workout anti-inflammatory, would like Rebound be helpful
No,
with
that's
that?
more like electrolytes. I would ask this person what else they have too. Is this person on the call?
They're on YouTube. I don't know.
I would ask them what other health challenges they have. Remember our Bob Ross example?
Yes.
That's some other data points.
He's identifying some other health challenges in his next questions there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I would say I would want to know what else is going on. But just somebody just asked me about shin splints, I would say inflammation, post trauma inflammation from the pounding. What else does this person have?
Okay, so they want to know, can someone reverse stage 1 male pattern baldness? They also
stage 1, that means early male pattern baldness.
Yes.
I say here's the deal with male pattern baldness. Okay. And by the way, that's also, you need to have a bunch of other symptoms to figure out what's going on there. But just to be clear, baldness is the end result of follicle issues. But the follicles are where hair grows from. Follicles are like a rabbit hole. Pores are the opening of the rabbit hole. In your skin, you have lots of pores. And if you go into the pores, you get a follicle, which is like a rabbit hole. So you got a rabbit opening to the rabbit hole, and then you got the rabbit hole. Rabbit hole is the follicle. Inside a follicle, you've got a little gland that makes oil. That's called a sebaceous gland. And that's how oils come through the skin or on the scalp. And then some of these follicles will have a hair in there. That's called a hair follicle. These hair follicles are fed the same way any other part of the body is fed, through the blood, through oxygenation of the blood, through nutrition in the blood, and they also have to be detoxified. To the body, the hair doesn't matter. The hair is irrelevant compared to the heart and the spleen and the liver. So under conditions of nutritional deficiencies, toxicities, lack of oxygen, nutrients and oxygen will be routed to the more important organs and away from the follicles. The follicles are like the canary in the coal mine, that's telling you what's going on. There's also hormones that are involved, and that's why people will lose their hair. People who lose their hair tend to have high levels of something called a super testosterone. We talk about super estrogen. There's also super testosterone called DHT. And DHT levels rise under conditions of zinc deficiency. So there's another role for zinc. Zinc is important for lowering DHT levels. So that's another strategy you might want to use for not just male pattern baldness, but also people who have male pattern baldness are more prone towards prostate issues. And zinc also is important for male prostate issues via this DHT connection. So working with DHT, lowering DHT is one good strategy. Overall, general nutrition and general toxicity is another strategy. For women, women can suffer from baldness issues. That usually involves the thyroid, and that usually involves estrogen. PCOS can be involved. Look, it always boils down to the same basic things. Digestive system, and that means toxicity as well as absorption of nutrients at the level of the intestine. The blood sugar system, both these are going to play a role in male pattern or female pattern baldness as well. So digestive and blood sugar, and then the steroid hormones, which is the adrenal connection. That's all related to the thyroid. Don't overthink this. For the guy who has male pattern baldness and also has what was the other thing he said? Shin splints, who has the splint condition. Look to where you can work. Forget your shins. Forget your hair. Work to the basic systems in the body and let God take care of your hair, or the body take care of your hair or your shins. Nutriate, work on digestive health issues, stabilize your blood sugar, keep your insulin low, and work on the steroid hormones. How do you do it? We have tons of nutritional supplements to do it. Healthy Start Pack, Healthy Blood Sugar Pack, De-Stress. I mean, there's a whole thousands of different products, literally. And then low calorie, ketogenic diet, whole foods, and stay away from processed foods and fried foods and oils, etc. You know the drill. It's the same stuff. All the same stuff. Okay, so forget about the shins and forget about the hair. Work on the metabolic system, the digestive system, and the steroid hormone system, and all the other things that you need to be doing: exercising, breathing, meditating, keeping your calories low, intermittent fasting, etc., etc. Staying away from processed foods, etc.
Okay. Well, I assume all of that will also apply to one of the other two questions he asked, which is about energy levels. So how can we keep energy levels high throughout the day?
Same idea. Energy levels will drop under certain circumstances. One, they'll drop when your insulin's high. Why? Because your blood sugar comes out, your insulin goes and yanks all the sugar out. That's called hypoglycemia. That'll make you tired. Okay, that's why you get tired after meals. A lot of people get tired after meals. Also, excess calories will make you tired. Nutritional deficiencies will make you tired. Duress will make you tired. If the body is dealing with some kind of inflammation or infection, that can make you tired. A lot of things that can make you tired. If you want quick energy, really quick energy, breath of fire. You know what the breath of fire is? Becca's doing it right now. The opposite of what we always say. We always talk about the relaxation breaths. The relaxation breaths are shorter inhales than exhales. No. Exhales the relaxation. So if you want to relax, you go like this. You can almost feel it. You can feel how you get a little drowsy if you do that. If you want energy, you do the opposite.
Right.
Do it 5 times. Watch what happens. Go crazy. Look like fools. That's called the breath of fire, and you can feel a surge of energy when you do that. You do that when you're driving if you feel tired. I just got a big buzz just by doing that, just to practice. Also, dehydration will make you tired. So drinking water. And when you drink water, drink it with your BTT, so you get your B vitamins and your electrolytes. That'll give you energy. So there's a lot of ways that you can energize. Caffeine will give you quick energy, but it'll make you crash in the long run, which is why people have to drink caffeine in the middle of the day, and you know, at 3 o'clock they have to take 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock they have to take coffee breaks, because caffeine in the morning will make you tired, and then you have to do more caffeine. That's why we get addicted to caffeine.
Okay, perfect. Last thing I'll ask from Repulsify is what does Ben know about OCD, especially OCD checking subtype?
Okay, OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder. And that, again, is like the schizophrenia, which is on the edge of what's physical and what's emotional. People have OCD, have control issues. They need to control things. And these control issues can come from chaos and usually does come from something chaotic in childhood where we learn we got to control everything. But OCD is a neuroses where it becomes extreme. You got to check your, check the door 5 times. You got to keep going back to check to see if the door is locked or the stove is turned off. And it's very, very, it's linked to, again, childhood traumas or chaos in childhood. There are nutrients, believe it or not, and N-acetylcysteine has been used to treat OCD. And you could try that, but it's always tricky to try to use nutritional supplements for something that's a full-blown emotional psychological issue, and OCD is one of them. So I don't know necessarily that I would feel comfortable giving a nutritional protocol for it, but I will say NAC has been used for it for OCD, and niacin, vitamin B3, has been used for various mental health issues, like as we talked about earlier with schizophrenia. But it's really a control thing.
Perfect. Thank you for the rapid fire. I'll turn it back over to Becca.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Mary. And we have more questions coming in. So, Pharmacist Ben, I just wanted to make a comment. Olga loves how you talk and share things.
I appreciate that, Olga. Thank you.
So, yes, so she's very thankful for you.
Thank you, Olga.
Go through the different elements and ingredients. So let's go over to AJ. I mean, the questions are just coming in. We need to do this more often.
Yeah.
AJ.
Okay, Shantae, unmute yourself. Shantae has a question that she's bringing in. If she can unmute herself. Shantae, you gonna unmute yourself? All right. Well, this is an image that she shared. I don't know if you can see that there.
Oh, yeah.
And it says,
yeah, I see that.
I have a friend who has a 4-year-old daughter. They both have periodic blood blisters on their head. Very
What else?
tiny.
Yeah, what else? I would want to know what else they have.
She doesn't know much else about the situation. This is another photo, if you can see that.
I can see that. Anytime something grows funny on the skin, that's going to be a metabolic or a blood issue. And that could have to do with the digestive system or the blood sugar system. And I don't know what that would be. I'd have to ask about other symptoms. Can't really remember it. You got to have multiple data points. That's just one data point. And assuming that doesn't look topical, if that were to happen on the skin, aside from the hair, I would immediately be connecting it to a digestive health issue. And that's the first thing I would think of. Does the kid have respiratory infections, ear infections? Does the kid have any digestive health conditions, gluten intolerance, bloating, constipation, loose stools, all that? That's what I'd want to focus on. It's not, skin things are not skin things. They're not all, it's rare that a skin condition is just a skin condition. It does happen, but it's rare.
Well,
just real quick, let me just say this real quick. The skin is kind of funny for people. We look at the skin and it's very misleading. The skin is layered like baklava or lasagna. It's got a top layer and then it's got multiple layers underneath. And these multiple layers, and let me digress real quick. There's two main layers, a big layer, relatively big, like an iceberg has a tip on the top, and then there's most of the iceberg's underneath. Most of the skin is way deep. It's called the dermis. That's where your blood is, and that's where your collagen is, and your connective tissue. That's where wrinkles come from, and that's the most of the skin, 90% of the skin. Then about 10% of the skin is on top of that. And that's called the epidermis. You got the dermis, and then you got the epidermis. The epidermis, which is about 10% of the skin, that's the tip of the top that we see, that grows from the bottom to the top. From the bottom of the epidermis to the top, cells will migrate to the top. And that migration of cells from what they call the base layer or the basal layer to the top, which is the barrier, that's called the stratum corneum, you just call it the barrier. That is a very, very tightly regulated process. So forgetting the dermis, the 90% that's the bulk of the skin, we're just talking about the epidermis. You got the bottom layer, and cells migrate to the top, and then they form the barrier. This migration to the top is extremely complicated. And when you look at the skin, you wouldn't think there's all this stuff going on, but there's this movement constantly, cells constantly moving from the bottom to the top. If inflammatory factors and immune factors get deposited in that area, it completely throws off that movement. And that's where eczema comes from, and that's where psoriasis comes from, and that's where acne comes from, and that's where lesions like that, those two pictures show come from. They're disturbances in how cells move from the bottom to the top. Okay, I mean, it's important to think about it that way because it's not obvious. It doesn't look like that's happening. So you have to kind of use your imagination to picture cells rising from the bottom to the top and inflammatory factors and immune factors disturbing that. Also, nutritional deficiencies can disturb that movement. If that movement is disturbed, skin lesions will appear, acne will appear, psoriasis will appear, acne, any kind of growths on the skin are usually the result of disturbances in that movement. That movement, by the way, is called transit. So disturbances in transit of the cells going from the bottom to the top leads to those conditions. So then the question is, what causes those disturbances? Toxicity in the blood. Again, we backtrack to the same idea. Digestive, blood sugar, and steroid hormones, but particularly for kids, I would look for digestive issues. I'd look for digestive issues. That's the first thing I would think of. Now, topically, you can use zinc oxide, and that will have an anti-inflammatory effect and might speed healing up. You can also use vitamin A and D ointment, or you can crack open a capsule and put it right on the skin. That's another strategy you can use, but I'd want to know what's going on in the digestive system that's inducing that. Those conditions don't occur in a vacuum. Is the person on the call?
Well, their health coach is unable to mute.
Oh, okay. Well, if you can find out, that's where I would be focused.
Pharmacist Ben, what would you know about like Manuka honey and putting it on something?
It's cute.
Cute?
It's kind of
Meaning?
cute. You're not going to change your life with Manuka honey, but it's not bad. There's a lot of those kinds of little things, tea tree oil and stuff. They're not going to, nobody ever had change their life with tea tree oil or Manuka honey, but it's not bad. It's not going to hurt you, and it's definitely got some good stuff in there.
All right.
If you got some full blown nutritional deficiency or toxicity, and your blood sugar is whacked out, Manuka honey is not going to change your life.
Okay. Let's go on over to Phyllis again, bringing in more questions.
The questions are pouring in. This one's from Rumble, and it's somebody named Green Bear.
Okay.
It's two parts. He
Yeah.
read a book by a big advocate of methylene blue.
Yes.
And then his second part of the question, apparently this author says nitric acid boosters like Viagra can cause heart attacks and cancer.
Okay.
So what say you on those?
Let's break that down. First of all, methylene blue is great. Methylene blue is a pigment. It's blue. And by the way, that's the first drug was methylene blue. In fact, the dye industry got converted into the drug industry. They used to, in the middle of the 19th century, they were working with dyes to look at what was going on with cells. When you dye a cell, you can kind of see things a little bit more clearly. And they noticed that dyes were killing things. Parasites and bacteria and viruses were being killed by dyes. So they started using dyes as medication, and methylene blue actually was used that way, and all dyes were used that way. Methylene blue is an electron donor. Let me rephrase that. It has electrical effects. All pigments are colorful by virtue of their electricity. That's what makes blue blue, red red, green green, is by virtue of their manipulation of electronic and photonic energy. So methylene blue's ability to regulate electrical energy can be used at the level of the mitochondria. One of the things that happens with the mitochondria, those are the structures inside cells that convert food into energy. One of the things that can happen is the electricity can be disturbed. The flow of electricity in the mitochondria can be disturbed. Methylene blue stabilizes that. So methylene blue improves the way the body converts food into chemical energy by its electrical properties. And it's great stuff, and it's completely non-toxic. So there's no problem. I think if you do too much, you might turn blue. But other than that, it's pretty non-toxic. And by the way, if you put vitamin C in with your methylene blue, that clears it. The methylene blue it isn't blue anymore. It's clarified if you put vitamin C in. Why? Because vitamin C is also electrical, and it donates electricity to change the electronics of the methylene blue. Methylene blue has an ability to hold and release electricity. Vitamin C donates electricity, electrons really, to the methylene blue and it clarifies. That's just a little tip, chemistry magic that you could do there. And then it's not nitric acid, it's nitric oxide that you're talking about.
Oh, yes, you're right.
Okay, so nitric oxide is an extremely important vasodilator. Very, very important vasodilator. Why is that important? Because blood flows when you vasodilate. And sticky blood is one of the, as we talk about all the time, all disease is dirty blood. So nitric oxide is very, very important for improving blood flow. That's why they use it in Viagra. However, if you open up your blood vessels, your blood pressure will drop. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Pressure is, if you have a garden hose and you squeeze it, the pressure's high, you open it, the pressure drops. What happens when the pressure drops? The heart has to pump really, really hard in order to compensate for that drop in pressure. So that's why people with heart disease have to be very careful with nitric oxide boosters, like Viagra, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And you can sometimes feel this if you have a problem with your heart and you get into a hot tub, you'll get up, you may feel your heart starting to pound. And that's a sign that the pressure is dropped and now your heart has to pump harder to get the pressure going. So that's why it's contraindicated. Viagra is contraindicated for people with heart disease, et cetera. I think that's what that gentleman is referring to.
But what about cancer? Would that play a role?
I don't know why I don't think that doesn't make sense to me. Why it would cause cancer. I'd have to see what he was thinking. I don't know. I don't understand why he would say that. Ask the person what the book was. I'd like to see the book.
I actually did. I'll have to look and see, and I'm
not sure what they're thinking about with cancer. Now, say that again. Nitric oxide leads
can cause cancer.
Nothing causes cancer. Remember, cancer is cellular duress. So aside from ionizing radiation, that can cause cancer. That can make it cause mutations that lead to cancer. That can do it. But other than that, it's cellular duress that causes cancer. Now, I'm guessing, without reading the book, I can't tell you, but I'm guessing that this gentleman is saying that because blood is not getting to certain areas, and that's leading to blood toxicity at the level of the cell not getting nourished, cell not getting oxygenated, and cell becoming toxic because the blood's not getting to those cells because the pressure's dropped. That would be my guess. I'd have to read the book and see what that guy was saying.
The book is called The Ultimate Guide to Methylene Blue.
Okay, I'll have to take a look at that. By who? Do you know who? Can you?
I don't know the author.
I'll look that up. I don't know why he would say it will cause cancer.
All right. Thanks for your help as always.
So, Pharmacist Ben, I have a question in regards to the methylene
Yes.
blue. If it's a color, maybe you said it and I missed it, but if it's just a color, how does it affect our health?
Well, that is a great question. That's a great question. What is a color? A color is the end result of the absorption of energy. When we see red, green, blue, whatever we're seeing, what we're seeing is, remember Roy G. Biv, right? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. That's the color spectrum, right? When we see violet, for example, that's only because the red and the orange and the yellow and the green and the blue and the indigo have been absorbed and the violet is being spit out. The way material substances absorb and release energy is going to determine their color. Because when I say energy, I'm talking about frequencies, various frequencies of light. So certain frequencies of light get absorbed, certain frequencies of light get emitted. When you see blue, that means all the frequencies of light except for blue have been absorbed and the blue is being emitted. But it's all about the emission and the absorption of electronic energy. So far, so good?
So far, so good.
Okay, there's another step to this, but I want you to understand this. Color that we see is the end result of the absorption and the release of specific frequencies of energy. Okay? So methylene blue absorbs certain energies and releases certain energies. Right? That's why it's blue. It absorbs energy like a sponge, absorbs water, and it releases energy, or it doesn't absorb energy. It emits energy that we see as blue. That emission and absorption of energy is an electrical phenomena that is the end result of electricity being held and released.
Okay.
Make sense? So you now
Yeah.
have a molecule that can suck energy up, absorb it, or spit it out. It's actually like an energy carrier of sorts. Can either carry it or release it. Right? So with me so far? The ability that this molecule has to carry and release energy can be used by the body as a carrier and releaser of energy. What part of the body or the cell is most receptive to carrying and releasing energy? The mitochondria.
Okay.
And so methylene blue, by virtue of its ability to carry and release energy, can be used by the mitochondria to carry and release energy. And by carrying and releasing energy, it facilitates the movement of electrical energy in the mitochondria, which turns your hamburger into ATP. That's what the mitochondria do. They turn your lunch into chemical energy, ATP. You know what I mean when I say ATP, right? ATP is chemical energy. So sugar or fat, food basically, let's say, gets turned into ATP. Think about it. How do you eat a hamburger? You eat an orange, you eat a piece of pizza, you eat a piece of broccoli, whatever. How does that get turned into energy? Do you ever wonder about that? How does a broccoli get turned into energy? What the heck's going on? Well, what happens is you digest the food, you break down the food into its basic component, which is glucose or fatty acids, and that glucose or fatty acids enters into the cell, then enters into these structures, these mitochondria. And in the mitochondria, the sugar, let's say, or the fat it could be, but the sugar, in the most amazing process in the entire universe, as far as I'm concerned, that sugar, which is basically electrical energy, gets passed through the mitochondria in this incredibly convoluted series of steps where a piece of sugar, it's actually a piece of electricity or an electron, gets shuttled into it's actually technically a proton, I'm pretty sure, but electrons and protons, whatever, gets shuttled into that mitochondria, and they have to go through these steps. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and at the end, ATP comes out, just like a machine. Okay, now, at each one of these steps, electricity has to be carried. Have you ever heard of NAD and NADP and NADH? Those are the carriers of that energy. That's why NAD is such a big deal, because it supports the carrying of the energy. It all comes from niacin, by the way, vitamin B3. It supports the carrying of that energy through the chain. They call it the electron transport chain. Through this chain, and ATP comes out. Methylene blue supports that movement. It helps that movement by virtue of its ability to hold and release. It acts as like a pontoon bridge. So instead of the electricity stopping, the methylene blue acts like a pontoon bridge, so the electricity can jump to the methylene blue and then be released. By the way, melatonin works the same way, or it has similar effects. And also, some of the minerals in your Beyond Tangy Tangerine also have that effect, that can act like a pontoon bridge that supports the movement of that electrical energy through the mitochondria, so that ATP can be pulled out. Now, you guys, that's going deep. That's a deep dive into what's happening. You don't really need to know that, but since you asked, that's how it happens. It acts like a temporary holder and releaser of electrical energy as that electricity is flowing down the chain.
Now, you mentioned sugar, you mentioned fat. What about protein?
Protein has to get turned into sugar.
Okay.
Protein itself won't get fed into that chain. Protein gets turned into sugar. In fact, protein is sugar, and fat is sugar. And by that I mean carbohydrate. Protein is a carbohydrate with nitrogen stuck to it. Protein's carbohydrate, it's a nitrogenated carbohydrate, nitrogenated sugar. And fat is a complex carbohydrate, a complicated carbohydrate. And sugar is a carbohydrate. So it's all carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. And that's the stuff that carries the energy. Protein is a specialized form, and nitrogen allows that carbohydrate to do all kinds of work. Protein is the workhorse in the body. It does all the work. Carbohydrate doesn't do any work. Carbohydrate just provides energy, but it doesn't do the work. The work is all done by sticking a nitrogen on there. I don't know how much chemistry you guys want. That's a little much, but it's kind of cool. I love nitrogen. Any farmers out, if there's any farmers out there, they know all about nitrogen, and gardeners know all about nitrogen. Nitrogen, our air is mostly nitrogen. Our air is about 78% nitrogen, but you can't really use it. What do we need to make that nitrogen usable? Anybody know? That nitrogen in the air, you can't use that nitrogen. What is
Oxygen?
it? What?
Oxygen?
No. Bacteria. Nitrogen fixing bacteria. Nitrogen fixing bacteria have this magical ability to turn nitrogen that's in the air into something solid that a plant can use. And that's why you have to have bacteria in the soil. They call them nitrogen fixing bacteria. And that's why we have such a problem today with our soils, is because we're killing the nitrogen fixing bacteria. So we're dependent on nitrogen fertilizers. In the 1920s, some guy figured out how to take nitrogen and turn it into something solid called a fertilizer. And that changed the entire planet. And some people consider that to be the greatest invention ever. His name was Fritz Haber. And he figured out how to, using high pressure and high heat and all these industrial techniques, how to take nitrogen from the air, which is abundant, 78% of the air is nitrogen, and turn it into something solid. And to this day, if you want to explode a building, get a bunch of nitrogen, or I'm sorry, a bunch of fertilizer, and put it in your pickup truck and go park it somewhere, and then set it on fire and it'll explode. That's what they did in Oklahoma City. They did fertilizer.
People don't
No,
don't
don't
pull
do
a
it. I'm
ticket.
just kidding. I'm not saying
Just-
no. But
Folks,
here's the
let's
thing.
not pull a ticket.
If you take, no, don't do that. That's I'm not suggesting we do that. But there, if you take glycerin, which is like a sugar, it's like sweet, it's sticky, it's in your skin, it's in your skincare products, and you put nitrogen on it, what do you get? Nitroglycerin, which is like will explode a mountain. Ordinary glycerin becomes explosive just by putting nitrogen on it. If you take toluene, which is nail polish remover, and it's not going to explode anything, but you put nitrogen on it, you get trinitrotoluene, TNT, dynamite, just by putting nitrogen on it. Nitrogen is just this powerful, powerful stuff. It turns an ordinary carbohydrate into protein, which does all the work. Carbohydrates aren't going to do any work. Protein does it. Or amino acids.
Yes. Amino acids.
Okay.
Well, Green Bear says, thanks, Ben. I knew if anyone would have the answer, it would be you.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you, Green Bear.
And on that
I'm
note,
way late. I got another podcast.
You are late. Thank you so much, Pharmacist Ben, for a great. Let's power through the questions. We'll have to do it again.
We'll do it again. I love the questions.
Yeah, next Friday, AJ's going to be here asking
You're not.
questions.
Oh, you're going to be gone.
I'm going to be gone.
Okay. Well, have fun with Michael Burnoff and bye, everybody. Thank you. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Ben. And if we could have the other co-hosts up on the screen with me, I'd greatly appreciate it. I don't like being alone. I kind of like these guys, as they'd make my job so much easier. I just want to do a special shout out and thank you, Albert, joining us by candlelight, because his power is out in South Africa. Thank you so much, Albert, for letting people in and being part of our phone team as well. Marilyn, thank you so much for all the work that you're doing, as Pharmacist Ben definitely keeps you hopping with all of the information that he is sharing. Thank you so much, Marilyn. Folks, if you're not here live with us and you don't have that chat open, or if you are here and don't have that chat open, you're missing a ton of information. Thank you so much, Marilyn. We also have Phyllis that's adding to that as well. Thank you so much, Phyllis. And she's also bringing in questions from the different platforms. Appreciate you doing that. We have the newest member of our team, Mary, also bringing in those questions from the different platforms. Thank you so much, Mary, for being part of our team. And I don't know if she volunteered or if the next person delegated her and told her just be here. And that is AJ. AJ, thank you so much, AJ, for being our digital marketing master, as he is helping us get the information and show out on all the different platforms, and also making sure that our newsletter goes out. So folks, if you're not part of our newsletter subscribers, make sure that you go to dailywithdoc.com and subscribe to our newsletter. And also, if you're on LinkedIn, Daily with Doc does have a LinkedIn account. We are working on building that up thanks to my other, well, he's my marketing advisor. Just want to make sure that all of you know that as LinkedIn, Daily with Doc. We're also going to be working with corporations and helping them bring health education to their employees for stronger, healthier workforces. So please like us out there. And Monday, Pharmacist Bites with AJ, 10 p.m. Eastern. That's 9 p.m. Central, 8 Mountain, and 7 Pacific. Make sure you are there by going to, is it live.dailywithdoc.com, AJ? Because it is not a Zoom. It is actually just a live stream.
You can absolutely go to live.dailywithdoc.com or youtube.dailywithdoc.com and get there and watch us. Live will take you to Rumble. youtube.dailywithdoc will give you the exact YouTube stream.
And on those platforms, you can ask your questions, as we will be bringing those questions into the show as well. So, folks, thank you so much for being here with us on Daily with Doc and Becca. I am honored to be able to bring this program to you at no charge. So if you have questions and we did not get to them, or if you have questions in the future, be sure to remember this email address, questions@dailywithdoc.com, as these questions will be answered by one of our certified holistic health coaches that are educated in the research and a nutritional approach taught by Dr. Joel Wallach and Pharmacist Ben. Folks, we're excited to be able to offer the Certified Holistic Health Coach course to anyone and everyone. You do not have to be a health advocate beyond wanting to empower yourself or others. Go to coach.dailywithdoc.com. Get more information about our coaching program. Right now, for the month of October, we've got $500 off that total cost of the program. You'll find more information about that when you visit coach.dailywithdoc.com. So, folks, have a fantastic weekend. We love and appreciate each and every one of you. And until next time, bye for now. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences, and the individual results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Lawley. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences, and the individual results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available.